Hello there. Today we'll be talking about coping with stress. We'll talk about the two types of coping, as well as the four essential factors. Coping is the act of reducing stress, and there are two ways you can do it. One way is by using problem-focused coping, where you try to solve the problem that's causing the stress. Sometimes we can't always fix that, so we move on to emotion-focused coping, which involves dealing with the stress by de-stressing in other ways, or in some other situations. There are four factors to successful coping: personal control, your perspective, social support, and also finding meaning.
Let's take a look at the first factor of coping, self-control. This video showed an example of learned helplessness. He exercised for only a short amount of time and then he didn't get the result he wanted, so he went back to eating.
There are two ways in which you can combat learned helplessness. One way is obviously having more control over the situation that's causing the stress. Since a lot of the times we can't do that, we have to resort to something else. Our control over the reactions that we have. That is called self-control. Self-control is having control over your emotions and your reactions to certain things in order to achieve something later on. The Bible tells us in Galatians 5:22 that self-control is one of the fruits of the Holy Spirit. So self-control is something that requires some outside assistance. Let's move on to the next factor of successful coping: perspective. Is the bottle half empty or half full? If you see the bottle as half full, you're most likely an optimistic person. If you see the bottle as half empty, you're most likely a pessimist. Take a look at this example from a classic character, Eeyore.
Did I get your tail back on properly, Eeyore?
No matter. Most likely lose it again anyway.
Poor dear. You know, I may have just the thing. Up, up, up you go. There you are.
It's an awful nice tail, Kanga. Much nicer than the rest of me.
As you can see, this is an example of a very pessimistic Eeyore. Even after he received a tail from a very optimistic friend, he was still very negative about himself.
Now let's move on to the third one: social support. Social support is how positively connected you are to people. Say like people such as your friends or your family. Whenever you're going through a stressful time, a good way to cope is by sharing your stresses. Here's an example of social support. Okay, so what were you wanting to do for intro to psych? You wanted us to go up to the managing stress effects or something, and then just go. Kara, are you listening?
Yeah, one more second. Y'all can keep going. I'll catch up.
Okay, so I think we need to finish coping with stress sometime.
3 hours later.
Oh my gosh, I'm so close. I just need to pass this level.
Are you still playing the game?
Guys, I just need one more second. I'm almost done. Like, I'm gonna pass the level this time. Y'all don't even know.
We gotta stay
But
focused.
guys, I almost got it.
No, listen. Hey, we gotta
I
stay
almost got
focused.
it.
The video's due soon. We gotta stay focused, okay?
Eventually.
Alright. Alright, let's work on this section, the finding meaning section. Okay?
Okay.
And so what we need to do next?
Kara is coping with stress by avoiding it and just playing her game, but through the social support of her friends, she gets back on task.
Finding meaning is one of the most effective ways of coping with stress. The best way to find meaning is to consult your closest friends. Let's look at this example.
I don't know who this person is. Is he? How did this happen? How did we end up here? Why am I alone? Where's Steffi? time to stand up. Time to grow up. I'm ready.
In the video, you see a character who had previously just experienced the death of her fiance. She confided in her friend, and through that, she was able to find meaning in her situation.
So what have we learned today? Today we learned about the two types of coping: problem-focused coping and emotion-focused coping. We also went into great detail about the 4 necessary factors of coping: personal control, perspective, social support, and finding meaning. Until next time, God bless.